From sharks on the golf course to sharks in volcanoes, here's 11 of the craziest shark encounters. Number 11. Shark vs. Paraglider. A 37-year-old man from Jordan was going on a paragliding adventure over the water, and at first, everything seemed to be going fine, but his fun quickly turned into a nightmare. According to a report by The Mirror, the man was attacked by a shark as he was in the midst of a parasailing session in the Gulf of Aqaba. As part of his experience, he tried to dive down and hover above the Red Sea while holding onto the parachute to get his feet wet, but when he did, a shark came ripping out of the water and literally bit his foot off. The man did survive, but this is an experience that he isn't likely to forget anytime soon. Number 10. Sharks on the golf course. Anyone who watches golf knows that sometimes animals can cause a bit of havoc on the green. Sometimes birds will pick up balls. Multiple crocodiles and alligators have gone onto the field before, and so on. Who knew animals like to golf? But one creature you wouldn't expect to encounter on the golf course is a shark, let alone multiple sharks. But that's exactly what happened near Brisbane, Australia. A storm had caused flooding near the golf course, and that naturally raised the water levels up to where the sharks, bull sharks in this case, were able to swim from the ocean to the water hazards of the golf course itself. But when the water levels went down to their regular levels, the sharks were still there. There were 6 bull sharks stuck in a little man-made lake. This gives new meaning to the phrase water hazard, and given the aggressive nature of bull sharks, we can say with much certainty that no one is going into the water for their golf balls with them in there. Not a chance. Number 9. Shark vs. Surfboard. There are certain kinds of people in the world right now that absolutely have a higher chance of getting attacked by sharks than others. People that spend a lot of time in the ocean, like surfers. They go out onto the open water in hopes of catching some gnarly waves, and since sharks call the ocean home, the two are bound to run into each other from time to time. For one surfer in South Carolina, he had quite the crazy encounter with one of these apex predators that didn't really end well. His name was Jack O'Neill, and apparently the shark was hungry and mistook O'Neill and his surfboard for a snack. O'Neill survived, but his surfboard wasn't so lucky. A person he showed it to posted about it online. He estimated the shark at 8 feet, and it knocked him off the board as he was paddling for a wave, they wrote on Facebook. The board snapped as it bounced to the beach after he pulled his leash off and escaped the shark. You never know what's lurking. It felt like somebody had put on the emergency brake. It felt like you had hit a rock, O'Neill said. The board just wobbled. It pulled off a shank of my board, peeled the complete bottom down to the stringer. Based on the information he had, some think it was a sandbar shark or a black-tipped shark. But regardless of what type of shark it was, O'Neill was fortunate to be alive. Number 8. The Mythbusters vs. Sharks Part 1. Anyone who is a fan of the show Mythbusters knows that when it came to the series, they loved testing their shark myths. They did several myths about Jaws, the Steven Spielberg film, and what that shark logically could have done. They also did a plethora of myths about real-life sharks and how to defend yourself against them, as well as to ensure that you don't attract them. For the Mythbusters Supersized Special, they did a myth about certain sounds being an excellent attractor for sharks, as they could sense frequencies that would allow them to know if an easy meal, aka prey, was nearby or hurt. To do this though, they needed to put one of the hosts in a shark cage so that they could see how the sharks reacted to the sounds. In the initial test for this, host Jamie Heineman was the man in the cage, and not too long after being put into the water, a great white shark swam up and then rammed the shark cage so hard that it actually burst through the top of the cage, getting its head pretty far into it. While it's true that Jamie wasn't injured, you could hear him reacting quite frantically as he's trying to explain how much danger he's in. And as fans of the series know, James Franklin Heineman doesn't scare easily, but having a shark full-on come into the cage that is supposed to keep them out will no doubt make you question ever doing such a thing again. And trust us when we say that the Mythbusters had plenty of unique interactions with sharks over the years. Would you ever get into a shark cage after hearing this story? Let us know in the comments below, and if you're liking this video, be sure to hit the thumbs up and subscribe buttons if you haven't already. Number 7. Sharks without livers. In May 2017 in South Africa in the Western Cape province, 4 dead great white sharks washed up on the shores, but strangely, they were all missing their livers and other organs. Great white sharks are on top of the food chain, especially around South Africa where numerous attacks have been reported. So what would or could attack them and only take the livers and leave the rest of the fish? After some research, it was revealed that the culprits were killer whales. These whales are known to be rivals for sharks, but have never been documented attacking great whites like this. However, researchers say it's not unprecedented and that the orcas are known to go after the livers of creatures when they hunt and kill. Other parts of the sharks were missing too, including their stomachs at times and even their reproductive organs. While one mystery was solved, another began, because reports of this happening are rare, so it makes you wonder why the whales decided to go after these sharks and whether more sharks are having this happen to them across the world where these two species meet. Number 6. Dolphins keep sharks away. Dolphins have been known in real life to go and ward off sharks from certain areas and even come to the rescue of humans at times should a shark be attacking them. Why this happens is heavily debated. And to be clear, just because there are dolphins in an area next to you doesn't mean that sharks aren't there as well. For a long time, people actually questioned just how real this all was, and then the Mythbusters came along and showcased this happening in real time. They lured a shark into an area of water and then made an anatomically accurate dolphin model that would swim just like one to enter the area, and every single time they did that, the shark swam away scared. Add that to all the survivor stories of sharks being deterred or straight up attacked by dolphins trying to save humans, and you have a crazy interspecies encounter that seems like it shouldn't work, and yet it totally does. Number 5. Sharks vs. Drone. Dan Watson decided to take his wife and kids to New Smyrna Beach in Florida with some of their friends. A very nice mini vacation idea, and surely nothing could go wrong with that, right? Wrong. By the end of their trip, Watson had an idea. He had a drone in his car and decided to use it to hover above the beach and see just what he would be able to see from this unique perspective. The catch was that when he raised the drone up, he was able to notice that not too far away from where his kids were still playing in the water, there was a shark. Seeing this, he immediately screamed and got the kids out of the water by warning them about the impending attack. His timing was perfect, not the least of which was because it was the drone's camera that was able to see the shark through the water. Watson himself admitted that the shark couldn't be seen from the shore as its fin wasn't sticking out. And lest you think he was panicking over nothing, that beach is known for shark attacks, and a week later, a shark attacked a surfer. Now that's a close call. Number 4. Pacific sleeper shark. When researchers were looking at an active volcano near Papua New Guinea, they were stunned to find Pacific sleeper sharks in the area. "We were freaking out," said University of Rhode Island PhD student Brennan Phillips to National Geographic. Why was that the reaction? Because this shark didn't belong there. In terms of location, the sharks that were there were found near the Solomon Islands, but the Pacific sleeper shark is usually seen in northern waters, and more specific than that, they're usually seen in Arctic waters or waters close to it, meaning very cold and non-acidic waters. However, the temperature and acidity of these waters would be way more than the sharks are used to. This has caused many scientists to be quite literally baffled. It doesn't make sense that these sharks are not only living here, but are able to live here given their usual conditions. The idea of there being large animals like sharks hanging out and living around this volcano conflicts with what we know about Kavachi, one scientist noted. Other sharks like hammerheads have also been spotted in acidic volcano waters, so what exactly is going on here? Well, we don't know, and that's why it's a crazy encounter on its own. It proves once again that the ocean is full of mysteries and that these sometimes random encounters are the only way we'll get answers to things. Number 3. Sharks versus internet cables? This is an encounter that makes you wonder what's going through a shark's mind. As you likely know, the internet is able to work across the world because of massively long cables that are literally connecting countries and continents together. It was not easy to get them down there, and so it makes sense that they would want to protect the cables from damage. Thus, they line them with Kevlar. This was a good move, as many sharks are known to actually go after these cables and try to chew on them. Should one of them get through it, with their bite strength, they can quite easily do it if the Kevlar wasn't there. They would bring down the internet in certain places for quite a while. Why do the sharks go after them? It's hard to say, but probably because, well, they're there, and they can. Number 2. Mythbusters Shark Repellent. Our final Mythbusters story that features an odd shark encounter is honestly one of the coolest stories they've done featuring the species. because many people want to know the best way to ward off sharks should they try to attack you. So the Mythbusters tested various types of substances to get rid of sharks, and none of them really worked. Magnets didn't work, sounds didn't work, and then they went and tested something very crazy. Essence of dead shark. Yes, for real. They housed essence of dead shark in a container, then went to an area that had Caribbean reef sharks and let them swarm around, and then popped the container to let the essence out into the waters. The sharks scattered immediately. Then they upped the ante. They were able to get the sharks to go into a feeding frenzy, and then they did the same test again. And despite the sharks being in a very aggressive state, they fled. What's more, it took several minutes for them to return. So apparently, sharks don't like it when they detect the essence of one of their fallen brethren. But why? It's possible the sharks feel it means there's something that can kill them nearby, or maybe it overloads their senses. It's hard to say, but it worked. Oh, if you're curious, yes, there are actually places that sell essence of dead shark, just in case you want to avoid your own crazy shark encounter. Number 1. Shark saves man. Given all the stories of sharks that have been told by people and in the media, the idea of a shark saving a person's life might seem a bit ludicrous. However, it's something that has happened more than you realize. Toakai Tatoi had been adrift out on the open ocean for 15 weeks and all seemed lost, until a shark came around and guided him to a rescue boat. I looked over the side and saw a 6-foot shark circling my boat, but it was mainly bumping against the hull. After seeing the shark, he looked around and saw a boat not too far away. Of course, I was able to wave frantically at them and they came and picked me up. If that shark hadn't nudged me awake, the crew of the boat might have thought I wasn't in trouble and might have carried on sailing past me. See? Sharks aren't always so bad. Thanks for watching. Which one of these shark encounters do you think is the craziest? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. See you next time. Bye!